to the She Leads podcast. I'm your host, Adrienne Garland, CEO and founder of She Leads Media, a global media company dedicated to the advancement of women leaders and entrepreneurs worldwide. I'm also an adjunct professor at NYU and Rice University, where I teach on the topic of entrepreneurship. I'm a mom to two wonderful young men and married to my best friend from college. Join me each week as I dive into raw conversations with remarkable, uncompromising, and inspirational women entrepreneurs and leaders. My hope is that these conversations and their advice will encourage you to put yourself out there and gain the visibility that you and all women deserve. We're all about stripping away the sugar-coated conversations and moving boldly in the direction of our magnificent dreams. For far too long, women have been conditioned to soften their words, modify their actions, and show up in the world to conform to outdated at best and harmful at worst cultural norms and ideals. Why? To keep those who are outside of the power structures from gaining power, prestige, wealth, and influence. This has prevented women from being recognized and respected as the powerful leaders that we truly are. The She Leads podcast is here to shine the light on all the incredible women, to encourage us to show up, speak up, and showcase the amazing work we do. Speak with confidence about the innovative and transformational thoughts that we have, and celebrate the positive impact that we are making in this world, both personally and professionally. So let's do this. Let's lead. Hello, and welcome back to the She Leads podcast. This episode and all of our episodes are brought to you by the She Leads Podcast Network. It's the podcast network for women by women. Today, I am so excited to welcome Ruchi Pinniger, founder and CEO of Watch Her Prosper, to the podcast. Ruchi helps women to redefine prosperity in business and in life holistically through financial guidance, bookkeeping, and tax time readiness. Welcome to the She Leads podcast, Ruchi.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Adrienne.
I am so excited to talk to you. We had probably one of the longest preambles before we started the podcast, and we were saying, should we record this? So I just hope that we can reiterate some of the things that we were talking about, because there was a lot of gold in there, and I want to just dive in and explore. And I think that we should probably start from what we were talking about, because we were talking about finance, we were talking about spirituality, and we were talking about value. And I think that these things are so important for women entrepreneurs because it is sort of the thing that gets us very tripped up. So many women complain and just get frustrated when it comes to pricing our services. And I think being able to stand firm in what our value is and what we deliver. So let's start with who you are, what you do, and how you got into what you do.
Yes. Well, we were talking about how everything in life is such a journey. And for me, looking back now, I can see why I do what I do. So I grew up here with a single mom, immigrant parents. I lost both my parents by the time I was 15. And one of the things I really remember was watching my mom reinvent herself in this country. And she had been an educator overseas, and she came here. She started at being a bank teller, worked her way up to being a finance executive at a bank. And of course, that's what led me into finance. And that's why I'm so good with numbers. And
Of course.
I went on to Wall Street, right? In fact, I also started at a CPA firm. I know you were at a CPA firm, although not in accounting. And then I went on to Wall Street, and I felt like, I had made it. I checked the box for success. And I was like, remembering back to my teenage days, my preteen days, seeing all of my friends and classmates having all those designer things. Like I'm an 80s girl. So those Jordache jeans that I coveted that I didn't get until they were on sale 2 years later. And I was like, I don't need to wait anymore. I'm making my own money, bought myself a Prada bag thinking, okay, now I've made it. And you know what, Adrienne, and all of you listening, not true. I for 1 minute, had that fleeting sense of happiness. It just went away and I went into debt. And that's when I realized, and that's what created all the work that I do now. That's when I realized that prosperity really comes from within. Our inside wholeness is what really creates prosperity. And then anything's possible for us after that.
Oh my God. The universe really does speak, right? So I had a conversation earlier today with another beautiful woman who was talking, and she's going to be on the podcast soon as well, who was talking about unmasking like false success. And it's all about those outward signs of success that social media perpetuates, and that it is false, right? It is vapid and not satisfying, right? And the Prada bag, while beautiful, there's no doubt that that thing is beautiful. But what does it do for you ultimately? And having resources to be able to help people, which is what women do when we have money, and to go on experiences and travel the world, which is one thing that I love to do, those are much more meaningful. So how do you help women to understand, first and foremost, this idea of what prosperity is? And then how do you help them to practically maybe get their finances to that place?
Yes. Well, look, the way I see it is the work that Watch Her Prosper does, myself, my team, how we work with our clients, is that the finances and the numbers are our tool to make the impact around this. So that's a great way to get in and get to know them and build that trust, because they come into a safe space, a non-judgmental space, a place where they can talk about money, despite the fact that 61% of women would rather talk about the details of their own death than talk about money.
Yeah.
So when we work with our clients, we allow them to feel safe around it. So that's what I wanted to share. Though I think about prosperity in a new way, right? It's about all the aspects of our life, particularly our well-being, our spirituality, and then our relationship with people and with money. And when we get into that money stuff, that's where we also get into the practical, tactical details about charging and saving and making good financial decisions.
Can you explain a little bit more what you just said, that women would rather talk about the debt than the money? Because I don't really know what you mean.
Women would rather talk about their own death, their death, than about money.
Oh
Yes. Oh,
my
you thought I said
goodness.
debt.
Yeah.
I said death. DEATH. I know.
What?
Yes.
My gosh.
It's true. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So no wonder.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
I have told this story before. So I went through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program, which was really, really wonderful. And one of the modules was around finance. And we actually had a incredible superstar in our cohort. She now runs Clever Girl Finance. I don't know if you know who she is, but she's so wonderful. She was the superstar in the finance section, and she was the only one. But during that section, when we had to get up and go through our financials, there were a couple that were really good too. But there were people in our cohort that were crying. They were crying. There were a couple of stories that were so sad of women that got completely taken advantage of, and they went to these predatory lenders and like payday loan people. And the interest that added up day after day went skyrocket out of control. They sort of lost everything. And it's just so sad, because there are people out there that prey on women like that, and you think that you can get out of it and pay that back. You have hope, and it's so sad. So there are people that were in tears, and I don't think that anybody should sort of be in that position. So how does one maybe start a business, or sort of maybe think about finances in their business so that they never get to a place where that's happening, because the shame of that is real. That's real.
It's real. It's real. And we hear a lot of different stories like that, not necessarily that particular type of story, but where people have been working with someone who's really put them through the ringer. And what's so important, is really knowing what your business zone of genius is and allowing yourself to ask for the right support, right? I obviously handle my own finances, but I have tons of beautiful, amazing support from lots of others who can help me. And so, it's so important to think about hiring the right person. I actually read recently 40% of women over 40 use their intuition for financial decisions versus hiring an expert or doing their own research. So, and I'm all about intuition, but not when it comes to your finances, and not solely. Intuition's important to help you make decisions, but having the education, having someone to bounce ideas off of, someone who's in your corner who you trust. So I think that's one thing that's so important. And we tend to avoid that, right? I don't have the money to hire someone. I'm just starting. So, okay, you could hire someone at least at an entry level, maybe not the same type of deep support, but at least to do those numbers and help you understand what's happening in your business, because the numbers are the data. If you can look at numbers in a very neutral way without judgment and just see the numbers are the data that help you make those decisions to move forward. It's a bit of a reframe, I would say.
Yeah. We were talking about this before. I teach entrepreneurship. I've mentioned this before at NYU, Tisch Center for Hospitality. Woo woo. Shout out.
Yay.
But one of the things that we do is the students plan out their businesses and they put numbers against the different revenue streams. And I have them think through, okay, what's happening in January? Why might revenues fall if it's a business that's centered around students, going back to campus in June and July? It's probably not going to be as busy as in, end of August, early September. So you really need to think about your revenues declining then. And, really thinking through that, how many people are walking through the door? What's the average, number of, or what's the average, bill of the food and beverage that they're buying? And at the end of it, oftentimes they see how all the numbers play out when it all adds up, and it's all just sort of adding. It's just kind of thinking about things. And they're always amazed, like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize, how much it would be to rent a place or stock it up with goods. And I said, well, at least you've thought about it, and you now see that maybe you need to cut your expenses somewhere, or maybe you need to add another revenue stream, or maybe you need to increase your prices. When you can actually look at it and see it, to your point, you can make better decisions. And oftentimes people don't even start with that. You have to at least start somewhere with looking at something instead of just operating from your brain.
That's exactly right. Everything you said, I echo. And that's why it's so important to plan. So we work with our clients, we do projections, and we think about when are there going to be the quieter times? Is this a seasonal business? What do I need to cover my overhead while still paying myself, while still having an emergency fund, while still having money for taxes? And how do I ensure that that money is there when I need it? Adrienne, the thing is, we can go right into the money. However, so many of us carry things from our past. We carry the disempowering thoughts that we need to reframe into the more prosperous thoughts. We carry shame, guilt. We may have seen our parents fight about money all our childhood. And so we have a belief that money's bad. And so we're not able to hold on to money because there's something there about that, right? I've got so many stories like that. So yes, looking at the numbers, I really like for people to even start before that, start to have an awareness of the way they think about money. Be curious, not judgmental. Be curious. Notice, what are the thoughts when someone says to you, hey, it's time to look at the numbers, or let's meet to discuss. Or like you're saying, when you're working with these students, and other entrepreneurs, and it's time to deal with their numbers and their finances, what's happening inside? A lot of this is an inside job. Prosperity is an inside job. And so that's where I like to talk about, sort of like, if we rewind a little bit to the self-care. When we take care of ourselves, we're doing things that bring us joy, that ground us. And that could be as simple as just going for a walk in nature, right? It comes at all budgets. Going for a walk in nature, doing amazing breathing and meditation, even going to get your nails done, going to get massages. I've had clients who have said to us, you're the first team that I've worked with from a financial perspective that doesn't judge me because I like to go get my nails done every week. And we said to her, seriously, that's exactly what we want for you. We want you to have everything you could possibly want for yourself, not to cut back on those, but to really plan for them and budget them. And so we added a self-care line into her budget to remind her how important it is.
Oh, gosh.
Right?
I love that. Yeah, that's amazing.
And we're both business owners, moms, spouses. We have our loved ones, our friends, our families. We're juggling, a lot. And we also are in a society of go, go, go. And the busier we are, the more valuable we are. That's the story we tell ourselves. So reframing that and realizing, actually, the more spacious I am, the more easeful I am, the more at ease I am, the more things come to me, the more I can tune into my intuition and my spirituality, and that leaves the space. So I love the idea of us starting with, let's care for ourselves. Let's make ourselves a priority.
I love this so much. And maybe that is a little bit of what's missing in the financial planning world, and why it's so amazing that you're doing what you're doing. And also a reason why maybe so many women are intimidated to go to a financial advisor who's throwing around all these different terms and making women feel like they don't know what they're talking about. How did I know that, you had the Prada moment where, you sort of felt good for a second. How did you start to say to yourself, okay, well, what are the things that actually fill me with peace and joy? And then how did you know that that's what you needed to incorporate into your business in order to be successful? And the reason that I think that this is important for women that are listening to hear is because I think it's important for us as women business owners to know that we do not have to do things in the same way that men have done things to build businesses. We can do things in our own way and be incredibly successful.
Absolutely. So that is a perfect conversation to have for all of the women out here. We come from the hustle bustle. It's the men, but it's also how we grew up. I talked to a woman the other day who sort of capped herself at 150, 200K, yet has so much more potential. And after digging deeper with her, I found out it's because she said that she saw how her mother was an immigrant and came here and was really financially successful, but ran herself to the ground and always said, you have to work hard to make a lot, to be successful. And she said, I don't want to live that way. So she's capping herself with her own potential and revenue, which means her impact in the world, because she's scared to become her mother and live like that. Right. And take away from the time with her 3 kids and her husband and her business. And it doesn't have to be that way. We can generate more revenue by having more space. It's all about, when you're taking care of your well-being, you're leaving that space to now tune into your spirituality, your intuition, really. Spirituality, just to simplify it, is simply the awareness that there's something bigger out there. So for whatever you believe, I believe in the universe. I believe in God personally. So, I say just knowing that you're fully supported and that anything that you want is available to you. So even thinking about the language we use and how the universe is a mirror and what we put out comes back. So if you're living from a place of scarcity, I don't have enough, there's never enough money, I'm always in debt. That's what's coming back to you. That's the message you're putting out to the universe, like as it's factual, and then it's coming back. And so when you start to, I call it RIR, when you start to recognize those thoughts, interrupt them, sort of hand on heart, and then reframe them with something more prosperous. So it could be like, I don't trust myself with money, I'm so bad at the numbers, to every day I trust myself more and more with money. It could be that simple. You start. But the key here and the action here is paying attention. And I guarantee when you start to pay attention, if there's one takeaway for anyone listening, all I ask is that you start to pay attention without judgment. Without judgment is key to the language that you're putting out, whether it's verbally or in your head, and pay attention to it and do exactly what I said, RIR. And then you're going to start to see yourself showing up, because our mind physiologically doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. There are studies about this. So when you think about, they have measured brain activity, let's say in a baseball player who hits a home run is actually at the stadium, hearing the crowd, feeling, the goosebumps on his arm as he runs the bases. And then that same scenario, closing the eyes, imagining that, and not just in your head, but in your body, actually feeling that feeling of going through that process of I'm even closing my eyes as I'm sharing it with you, right? Like I'm really visualizing, I'm at the home plate, and the ball's coming to me. I hit a home run. I'm running the bases, hearing the crowd, feeling the goosebumps, feeling the air, getting to home plate, and the same brain activity. So for you, when you start to think about those thoughts, those more empowering thoughts, it's the same thing. So it's like homework that we give to our clients all the time. We call it belief work, where you're writing down the new thought, saying it out loud, and then closing your eyes and feeling what it feels like. And then you start to show up differently. You start to act differently. People are more, attracted to your energy. The money starts to flow in. When you start to feel what it's like to be prosperous inside, the money starts to show up. The great things you want in your life start to show up, right? Because it's not just about money. That's part of it, yes. So that's what's really key around that spirituality piece.
Okay. That was incredible. First of all, I was running around those bases. I felt when you said the wind, I was like, yes, the wind. And then I got the goosebumps.
Yes.
My eyes were closed too. And I am feeling this so hard, that RIR, I've heard this concept definitely before about reframing. I've never heard RIR. So everybody, that is a humongous gift. Thank you so much for sharing that. I could not believe this anymore. I think that what has happened to us, and I will make a sweeping statement, I think that what has happened to us as women is that we have been so programmed that we are not aware of where our thoughts are coming from. So this notice piece is key. Notice when it comes up and look at it, because we are smart and we can see it, and then we can RIR it, which I love.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And by the way, what you said really resonates, because what is it? 3 to 5% of how we show up is based on our conscious mind. 95 to 97% of how we be, Adrienne, and all of you out there, is because of our subconscious thoughts. That's where I talk about, we don't even sometimes know why we behave how we do, why we treat money how we do, why we don't charge enough, why we don't value ourselves. it's because a lot of it's just deep down. We put it down. We were taught not to, oh, I can't even tell you. I'm so overwhelmed with stories to share with you. Just it, not even about money, but my clients who want to write books, but they were taught, oh, be quiet. It's,
Yeah.
quiet down. We weren't allowed to be free. Once we were after a few years old and we were playful and thought everything was possible, we were always told, oh, don't cry. Oh, don't scream. Oh, don't talk too loud. Oh, don't brag about yourself. Fill in the blank for
Yeah.
whatever you went through as a child, right? We didn't get to feel how we felt. We were taught to repress. And that's the thing, making it safe for those of you who want to be in the spotlight, like moi, making it safe
Yeah.
to be seen,
Yeah.
making it safe to be heard. So this RIR work, this belief work it's not just about money. It's about anything you're going through that's holding you back from whatever it is that you want.
Oh my gosh. This is such great stuff. And I agree with you. I agree with you about, and it's the work that She Leads is promoting as well, right? It's like, you're a woman entrepreneur. If people don't know about your business, how are they ever going to buy from you? You need to get yourself out there. How do you do that? You pitch yourself to the media. If you do not pitch yourself, you are not getting covered, right? But you have to feel confident and you have to be comfortable being seen. It's like this RIR work applies to, pitching the media, getting in the media. You have to be comfortable being seen. Same thing with, we are also just starting to help women to write books as well. And we're seeing this exact same thing. What you just said, my mind is kind of blown. I think that what happens is women are like, oh, I don't know, that costs a lot of money, but I don't think that that's what it is. I think that they're afraid of
It's
putting their
not.
words out there, right?
It's that, the being seen, because when they're really living and coming from a prosperous mindset, they know that their words need to be out there. They know that the money will come, right? When they're really living that way. I make big investments in my business all the time because I'm growing, I'm scaling. And I don't question them because I'm so clear. I am so clear on my mission. And I am so clear that all of that money is going to come back. Even if I haven't had this yet where I had a loss in a year. I mean, I'm thankful for that. Even if that means having a loss this year, I know it's all coming back because it's investment.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I have a little story to share. So I
Okay.
started to work with a woman who's amazing, Laura Wright. And I made a very big decision and I did a VIP day with her. And I drove down to Baltimore from New York, from Long Island, and I had a VIP day with her. And it was spectacular. And it wasn't, it was special, but it wasn't anything, it wasn't like a circus or anything. It was very nice. And we did some work, which was transformational, but, wasn't like we flew to Costa Rica or anything like that. When I came back, the woman that I work with, Alyssa Potter, who is amazing, she's an actress as well. So you'll see her. But I came back and she knew I was doing this. And she said to me, Adrienne, she said, you look different. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, you literally look like a VIP. And I said, what? She goes, you look like a VIP. And I was like, that is so strange because I feel different. And ever since that day, I have felt completely different about my business. I have a confidence now in my business that I am on the right track and I'm not fighting against something that I was fighting against and that I'm moving towards something that is beautiful. And that makes all the difference. And
Absolutely. I
so
love
I
that.
believe I believe you. This
Yeah.
stuff is real.
Yeah.
It's in your mind.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts. Your vision, your vivid vision, it starts in your mind, and then you take action, and then that becomes reality. That's what it is.
Yes, that's exactly right, Adrian. So, I talk about manifesting, and I think people sort of make fun of it, like, oh, I just sit back and I think, oh, this is what I want. It's all just going to come. No, it means you're clear on what you want, you take action, and that's when the universe aligns with you. Just like I was talking to you before we recorded about, I've always been curious about being an entrepreneurship professor. What is it like? And you're like, come guest teach. And I was like, see, that's how it happens.
Yeah.
It's just like that. I was sort of clear that that's what I wanted. I saw on your Instagram something about you doing that. And then I learned more about you, obviously. And then I was like, I'm going to ask Adrian, what's that all about? And here we are.
Voila. And what is so amazing about this as well, that is one of the sections, and I mentioned this to you, that is one of the sections that I teach where a lot of the students get a lot of anxiety. And there happen to be because it's the event management, hospitality, tourism program, there happen to be a lot of women in the program. So there's a lot of anxiety around numbers. And I do my very best to make everybody feel comfortable. I let everybody know that this is simple math, and we're all very smart. We go to NYU, right? And you got this. And it's your vision, so you can do this. And I try to break it down as simply as possible. And they get it. They're smart and they always accomplish it, but there is anxiety around it. And I have to sometimes take a step back because I happen to have been very good at math from early on, very comfortable with numbers, finance, economics. That was my background. I actually love it and it's sort of easy for me, but I know that not everybody is like that. So I come from a perspective of like, what's the issue here? I almost feel like this is the easy stuff, but there is so much anxiety behind it. And I get it. And I think I get it more now. Maybe this is the universe giving me something to humble myself. I almost get it more now because I have taken out a couple of loans due to just some mistakes that I've made and COVID and things like that. And it's a little scary having loans out and having to pay back those loans on a monthly basis. And, it's no small number. And I wish I didn't have them. And I wish I could just pay them off and get that off my back. So I understand now where, having loans and shame around having loans and debt comes from. I get it.
Oh, we need to talk about this. Let's talk about you. See, I can help you reframe.
Yes.
I want to help you reframe that. How about instead of, oh, I regret it and I don't like having to pay these and it stresses me out, to gratitude that you were able to get those loans, that those creditors trusted you with the ability to pay that back. How lucky I am to have the money I needed to be available to me when I needed it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And that I can continue to easily pay those monthly amounts back. Yeah. And it's funny because
Yes.
I actually, and I'm actually going to go one step further because the people that I have the loan through they're CDFI. They're called Pursuit. And the people at Pursuit are beautiful, amazing people that do so much to help the small business community. And they've also helped me as well by allowing me to kind of come in and do some instruction and things like that. And I've grown very close with the people at Pursuit. So you really just put a mirror up to me. And I'm really grateful for that because that loan is not just a loan. It's actually a beautiful relationship.
There you go.
So thank you.
There you go. I love that. Everything,
Wow.
when we stay, and when I had a difficult situation a few months ago with a family member, and it was something that was sort of, I'll tell you about it a little offline, but it was sort of unreal. And the way I got through it really literally is gratitude and trust, gratitude and trust, gratitude. It was a medical situation, gratitude that, we have all of this beautiful medical care. How lucky we are to have the health insurance that we do, to have the best doctors, the best team, and then trust. I trust that, this person is being cared for, that all of these people around them are caring for them. And that's actually how I was able to get through that situation in such a grounded manner. So with any difficult situation, if you bring it up to gratitude, that's like one of the most high vibrational, ways of being you can show up. And so just like you said, gratitude, what I shared with you, gratitude that I had creditors who trusted me and that money was available to me. And now when you're paying it, how grateful I am that the money's always there to pay all the bills.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I needed this conversation today. I needed you today. I have so much gratitude for you in general and this conversation. And I know that everybody is going to take away at least one thing. I mean, at least 10 things, but at least one thing from this conversation. So what I would love for you to do is share with everybody how they can get in touch with you, how you can be part of their lives and their business.
Amazing. Yes. Well, first of all, the obvious, follow me on Instagram at Watch Her Prosper, where we share sort of all of this, the well-being, the spiritual, the numbers, practical, tactical, mindset, all of it. My website, watchherprosper.com. You can go there. You can sign up for our newsletter, stay in touch that way. I have a book coming out, a course coming out, as well as we, work one-to-one with clients. And then I also have a small business finance column called Ask Ruchi, RUCHI, Ask Ruchi. And you can go to askruchi.com if you want to submit a question, and maybe it'll be chosen for one of our monthly questions.
Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the She Leads podcast. And I can't wait. I'm going to submit a question.
I can't wait to see it. Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been really wonderful. I loved our conversation.
Me too. This and all of our episodes are brought to you by the She Leads Podcast Network, the podcast network for women, by women. Thanks so much for listening to the She Leads podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support us, please share it with others, make a personalized post about what you took away on social media, and please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. This helps our guests and our show to continue to gain visibility and traction. To learn more about how She Leads Media helps women to gain visibility, you can follow us on Instagram at She Leads Media, or you can head on over to sheleadsmedia.com. If you'd like to network with me and other amazing women, don't forget to join us each year for the She Leads Live conference. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon. This is the She Leads Podcast Network.